Welcome. Take a deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Allow your eyes to rest gently, and if they haven't, let them close. Tonight, you're going to drift off not to silence, but to story. Story of speed, of light and darkness, of time, space, and friendship. This is the world of Sonic the Hedgehog, retold softly for those ready to leave the day behind. For over 3 decades, Sonic has been racing through worlds, jumping from forests to futuristic cities, battling ancient gods and artificial minds, always one step ahead. To some, he's just a video game character. To others, he's the heart of a vast universe, one filled with mystery, mythology, and quiet emotion. Tonight's journey isn't about action or excitement. It's about the lore behind the blur, the hidden stories, the forgotten timelines, and the legends that shaped Sonic's world long before the first ring was ever collected. As you settle into your pillow, we'll gently travel through the myths of the Chaos Emeralds, explore the secrets of floating islands and ancient guardians, and walk side by side with characters who rarely take center stage, like Tikal, Blaze, and even the mysterious Chow. We'll visit alternate dimensions, shadowed futures, and places rewritten by time itself. You won't need to remember it all. In fact, you're not supposed to. You can drift in and out as the lore flows around you, calm and unhurried. Let it be like a dream you don't need to understand, only feel. There are no loud sounds here, no boss fights, just calm narration layered with soft ambient tones, and stories meant to lull rather than excite. This video is not a timeline. It's a mosaic. Pieces of the Sonic universe placed gently, one by one, into a soft storybook for your mind. And if you find yourself wondering whether something is from the games, the comics, or another version entirely, don't worry. Here, the lines between canon and dreams are blurred on purpose. Whether you're a longtime fan of Sonic or someone just curious about this blue blur and his mysterious world, you're welcome. The lore doesn't ask for knowledge, only imagination. So breathe. Let go. The rings will chime softly in the distance. The wind will carry the scent of Green Hill Zone's flowers. The distant hum of a Chaos Emerald will echo through the sky, and somewhere far beyond a hedgehog is already running, not toward conflict, but toward peace. Now, let's begin. Long before Sonic ever dashed across Green Hill Zone, before Eggman built his first robot, and even before the floating island rose into the skies, there was a story, a legend, older than history, whispered, not in words, but in energy. A story of power, balance, and destiny. The story of the Chaos Emeralds. Close your eyes. Imagine a time when the world was unformed, a place without boundaries, no cities, no technology, no heroes or villains, just nature, breathing in and out like a giant sleeping creature. In this primordial time, something strange existed. 7 stones. Glowing, singing almost. No one knows who made them. Maybe no one did. Maybe they've always been here. Not created, but awakened. They came in 7 colors, each representing a kind of energy that shaped the universe. Red, blue, yellow, green, white, purple, cyan. 7 frequencies in harmony. 7 forces of chaos held still. These were not just jewels. They were alive in a way that's difficult to understand. They didn't think, not exactly, but they listened. They responded. They remembered. Some say the emeralds were born from the dreams of the world itself, crystallized emotions of a planet with a heart. Others believe they are fragments of an older cosmos, fallen through time like cosmic tears. What's known, however, is that wherever the emeralds appear, change follows. In one timeline, they were hidden deep within ancient temples, surrounded by murals of spiraling galaxies and creatures that looked more divine than earthly. In another, they rested quietly beneath the surface, waiting for the right hands or the wrong ones to find them. Eventually, they were discovered by the ancients of Mobius, civilizations long lost to time. These early people saw the emeralds not as weapons, but as sacred tools. They built shrines, floating altars, entire societies designed to protect and study their light. But as with all power, fascination gave way to greed. The Echidna tribes, especially one known as the Knuckles clan, tried to harness the emerald's energy for conquest. They believed the emeralds could give them divine control over nature, time, and fate itself. And for a time, they succeeded. Temples lit up with energy, machines responded to thought alone. Time itself seemed to slow when an emerald was nearby. But the emeralds are not silent servants. They react to emotion. Harmony gives them stability. Chaos, true chaos, gives them instability and unlimited potential. So when greed and pride overtook reverence, something awoke. A guardian, born from the emerald's connection to the Chow, the soft and gentle creatures who live near the energy source. Chaos, the god of destruction, emerged to defend the balance. This creature, fluid and ancient, was not evil, only reactive, like a mirror to the hearts of those nearby. When the Knuckles clan attacked the temple, chaos absorbed the negative energy around him and transformed into a terrible force, perfect chaos. The resulting flood wiped out civilizations. The emeralds scattered. History forgot. But the Master Emerald remained. A larger green crystal, less famous but perhaps even more powerful. The Master Emerald does not amplify chaos. It calms it. It is said to be the heart of balance and the one force capable of controlling the others. It now rests on Angel Island, guarded by a descendant of the ancient Echidnas, Knuckles, alone, watchful, bound by duty. Unlike the Chaos Emeralds, the Master Emerald doesn't glow with different colors. It radiates a deep, steady green, not of growth, but of stillness. While the 7 Chaos Emeralds respond to desire and emotion, the Master Emerald responds to purpose. Its role is to keep the world aligned, to maintain the floating island, to suppress imbalance, and to act as the final seal if things go wrong. And they often do. In the modern age, the Chaos Emeralds appear time and again, drawn to Sonic, to Eggman, to Shadow, to Silver. Each time they emerge, so does a new chapter, a new crisis, a new chance. They are used to create ultimate form, Super Sonic, Super Shadow, even Super Silver. But while these transformations may seem heroic, they come at a cost. The emeralds feed on energy, mental, spiritual, sometimes physical, and when someone uses them too often, they start to blur with the very chaos they once controlled. That's why Sonic rarely holds onto their power for long. He uses them in moments of dire need, then lets them go. Perhaps instinctively he knows the emeralds are not prizes. They are not trophies. They are choices. Every use comes with a ripple. There have even been times that the emeralds have changed reality itself. In one possible future, an erased one, they were used to seal Solaris, the god of time. But in doing so, they fractured the flow of events so badly that history had to rewrite itself completely, a memory held only by dreams. In another dimension, their counterparts, the Sol Emeralds, exist in parallel, guarded by Blaze the cat, fire instead of wind, control instead of speed, a mirror world held together by the same fragile balance. the chaos. Emeralds are also sensitive to corruption. The phantom ruby, a synthetic gemstone created with unknown technology, does not belong to their world, but it mimics their influence. It bends reality not through balance, but through distortion, and when placed near an emerald, it doesn't enhance, it poisons. Infinite, a jackal soldier empowered by the phantom ruby, once tried to erase Sonic's legacy using false realities, but the emeralds do not forget their rhythm, their hum. Even false power cannot replace ancient truth. Sonic, time and again, finds the emeralds when he needs them most. Sometimes they appear at the last second, just as a final blow is about to land. Other times they slowly drift into his path, waiting patiently. There's a quiet suggestion that the emeralds choose, that somewhere within their crystalline silence they listen for the sound of hope. And that's why they return to Sonic. Not because he's the fastest, not because he's the strongest, but because he never tries to own them. He never asks for power. He runs, and if the world needs him, he lets it guide him. The Chaos Emeralds remain, to this day, one of the most mysterious forces in all of Sonic's universe. They are science. They are magic. They are possibility. Somewhere, right now, they may be pulsing softly beneath the earth, or floating above the clouds, or tucked within a moment of time not yet written, waiting for the next dreamer, the next crisis, the next moment where balance hangs by a thread. And when that moment comes, the emeralds will respond. Not with sound, not with words, but with light, and the quiet hum of chaos singing the world back into motion. Now that you've heard the story of the Chaos Emeralds, let's rise, slowly, softly, into the clouds. High above the earth floats an island. It drifts silently like a leaf on the wind. Its waterfalls spill endlessly into the sky. Its trees grow tall and ancient, their roots gripping stones carved with forgotten symbols. No cities, no noise, just the quiet hum of time, undisturbed. This is Angel Island. To most, it's just a myth, a rumor passed down from those who saw something strange in the distance. An island that floats, impossible, and yet, yeah, that's it. It is real. Very real. Suspended by a power far older than science, anchored by something far heavier than stone. At the center of the island rests the Master Emerald. Unlike the 7 Chaos Emeralds, which scatter and shift with emotion, the Master Emerald does not run, it does not hide. It stays fixed, sentinel, a heart. And the story of Angel Island is its story. Long ago, long before Sonic was born, this land was known by a different name. It was not yet in the sky. It was part of the earth, a sacred region. Lush and filled with strange energy. Creatures lived here peacefully, the Chow, soft and curious, flickies, colorful and free, all in harmony. At the center of it all, in a great stone temple, stood the Master Emerald, silent, glowing, unmoving, but watched. The ones who watched over it were known as the Knuckles clan, a tribe of echidnas with red fur, spiked fists, and unwavering eyes. They were a proud people, warriors, guardians, but like many civilizations before them, their pride would soon outgrow their purpose. You see, the Knuckles clan were not content to protect the emerald. They began to believe it was theirs, that their bloodline gave them the right to its power. They built weapons, machines, and rituals to draw energy from the stone. And at first, it worked. Crops grew faster, storms parted, their enemies vanished. But the emerald does not bend forever. It listens, it feels. And it was not alone. Beneath the temple, hidden in the water, lived a creature of pure energy, Chaos. A being born from the emeralds themselves, shaped by the peace-loving Chao it once protected. That Chaos was not a monster, but a guardian, a spirit, gentle and silent and less provoked. He watched as the Knuckles clan grew hungrier, greedier, and then came the final day. Tikal, a young Echidna girl, daughter of the clan's chieftain, pleaded with her people to stop. She had spent her days with the Chao. She knew their innocence. She felt the emerald's warning energy. She begged for peace. But her father would not listen. In a flash of war, paint, and fire, the warriors charged the temple. They stormed the inner chamber, trampling over the defenseless Chao and waking Chaos. He rose like a tidal wave. His body was made of water, but his heart was fury. Fueled by the energy of the Master Emerald and the rage of the moment, he transformed into something unrecognizable, something ancient, something terrible. Perfect chaos. He did not speak. He did not threaten. He simply acted. And in an instant, the Knuckles clan was gone. Their temples flooded, their power erased. Only Tikal remained, and with the last of her strength, she sealed Chaos and herself inside the Master Emerald, trapped together, sleeping, waiting. After that, the land changed. Some say the Master Emerald, to prevent further harm, lifted the remaining landmass into the sky, far from the reach of those who might seek its power again. Others believe the island rose because the world itself needed to protect what was left. Either way, Angel Island was born, floating, hidden, guarded. Time passed. Centuries came and went. The story of the Knuckles clan faded into legend. Their murals were buried beneath vines, and their names were forgotten. Only the island remained, drifting silently over oceans, clouds forming around its edges like a cloak. And on that island, the role of guardian continued. A new generation, a new line. Eventually, only one remained. Knuckles. A solitary figure, red fur, gloved fists, eyes sharp but often tired. He doesn't live in a palace. He doesn't lead an army. He watches. He listens. He waits. To some, Knuckles seems like a relic, an old soul in a world of fast movement and digital change. But he is not outdated. He is the tether, the memory. Knuckles never met Tikal. He never saw Chaos's flood, but he feels it. In his dreams, in the way the wind shifts around the altar, in the sound the Master Emerald makes when no one else is around. He was born into this role, not by choice, by fate. And though he sometimes joins Sonic and his friends, fighting Eggman, racing through cities, cracking jokes, his heart always pulls him back to the island. Because deep down, Knuckles understands if the Master Emerald is ever taken, if the balance it maintains is ever broken again, the world may not survive it a second time. And so he stays. Sometimes for days, sometimes for months, guarding an ancient power that most people have never even seen. You might wonder, does he get lonely? The answer is yes, and no. Knuckles is not like Sonic, who runs to escape stillness. He's not like Tails, who builds to understand the world. Knuckles is a keeper of silence, and in that silence, he finds something strange and powerful. Clarity. The floating island does not need roads or lights. It sings in bird song, in rushing waterfalls, in the echo of stone beneath foot. And for Knuckles, that's enough. But every now and then, trouble rises. Eggman comes for the emerald. The island begins to fall. Chaos stirs again. And in those moments, the past returns. The murals beneath the temple glow faintly. The sky changes color. Knuckles feels the heartbeat of his ancestors and knows it's time to fight. Not for glory, not for revenge, for balance. And once it's over, Once the threat has passed, he returns, alone, once more, back to the altar, back to the silence. Angel Island continues its slow, gentle drift. Clouds wrap around its cliffs like blankets. The emerald glows softly and Knuckles watches. Because stories may fade, temples may fall, but balance must remain. So the island floats and waits. Let's leave the clouds behind now. Let the floating island drift gently back into the sky and return to something simpler, something faster, something blue. The story of Sonic the Hedgehog. You know his name? Everyone does. He's appeared on screens and comics and toys and posters and t-shirts for over 3 decades. He's run through cities and through time, across dimensions and into dreams. But where did he come from? Not just his first appearance in a game cartridge, but deeper. Where did Sonic begin? Some say he was born on Christmas Island, a tropical place filled with palm trees, volcanoes, and flickies chirping in the treetops. It's where he first discovered his speed, running barefoot through the grass, not knowing yet how fast he could go or how far he would be asked to run. Others claim he wasn't born at all, but created. In the early 1990s, stories spread of a kind scientist named Dr. Ovi Kintobor. In this version of the tale, Kintobor discovered the Chaos Emeralds and tried to use them to eliminate evil from the world. He befriended a young hedgehog, Sonic, brown in color, curious and kind, and helped him train to run faster, stronger, freer. But then came an accident, a fusion of energy and chaos. The Emerald's negative energy corrupted the lab, transformed Kintobor into Eggman, and changed Sonic forever. His brown fur turned bright blue. His quills sharpened. His speed became uncontainable. This version, while more legend than canon, has stayed in the minds of fans for years because it says something true beneath the fiction. That Sonic's story is one of contrast. Science and nature, freedom and control, light and shadow. Sonic doesn't fit into the world. He blurs the edges of it. He's not a soldier, not a chosen one. He's a force of motion, a being who exists in between, a symbol of something much older than himself. Freedom. Unlike many heroes, Sonic doesn't wait for danger to arrive. He doesn't live in a fortress or answer to a king. He runs, not away from problems, but toward people who need help. And he always arrives in time, or just in time. And yet for all his power, he never seeks it. Sonic doesn't try to master the Chaos Emeralds. He doesn't build machines. He doesn't plan wars or lead armies. He simply listens to the wind and follows where it takes him. He acts on instinct, on heart, on a sense of justice so quiet and steady, you might miss it if you're not paying attention. That's why the world trusts him. Even creatures of ancient power, like Chaos or Dark Gaia, or even the Master Emerald itself, seem to respect Sonic. Not because of what he does, but because of who he is when no one is watching. A protector without ownership, a spark that never burns. But Sonic didn't become that way overnight. His childhood, though not often spoken of in detail, hints at a quieter past. One where he lived among animals in peace, where he learned joy before he learned speed, where he helped flickies out of trees and played on hilltops until the stars came out. Some believe his connection to the natural world is part of his essence, that Sonic is less of a creature and more of an echo, a manifestation of balance, called into being by the world itself at a time it needed someone fast enough to keep up with chaos. Others see him as a response to Eggman, a counterweight born of necessity. Every action has a reaction. Every villain, a hero, Where Eggman builds prisons of steel and smoke, Sonic tears them down in seconds. Not because he's told to, because it's right. It's worth noting, too, that Sonic's powers are not like others. He doesn't cast spells. He doesn't wield weapons. His greatest strength is movement. And with that comes symbolism. Sonic's speed is more than just a number. It's a rejection of stillness, of stagnation, of control. The faster he moves, the freer he becomes. Is why he can outrun time itself. Why even when reality bends or collapses, Sonic stays intact. Because he isn't bound by rules, he's bound by will. And in many stories, that will is the only thing holding the world together. But even Sonic doesn't walk alone. Early in his adventures, he met Miles Tails Prower, a young fox with 2 tails and a mind built for invention. Unlike Sonic, Tails isn't fast in the traditional sense, but he keeps up in other ways through courage, loyalty, and intellect. They became brothers, not by blood, but by bond. Tails would fly alongside Sonic, building gadgets and planes, always believing, always catching up, and Sonic, for all his speed, always waited, always circled back, because even the fastest hero in the world needs someone to believe in him. Then came others. Amy Rose, whose devotion would become a source of strength, not just for herself, but for the team. Knuckles, who started as a rival but became a friend, his fists strong but his heart steady. Cream and Cheese, Team Chaotix, Blaze, Silver. One by one, Sonic's world grew. And yet Sonic never changed his core. He ran, he smiled, he showed up. Even when facing the darkest of enemies. Like Metal Sonic, a perfect copy, built by Eggman to surpass him. Or Shadow the Hedgehog, created in a lab, haunted by memory, searching for meaning. Or Infinite, warped by illusion, hungry for fear. Each enemy tried to stop Sonic in different ways, to trap him, to outmatch him, to make him slow down. None succeeded. Because Sonic's power isn't just speed, it's belief. Belief that freedom is worth protecting, that kindness is strength, that even the darkest moments can be outrun by light if you run fast enough. That's why the Chaos Emeralds respond to him. When he collects all 7 and becomes supersonic, he doesn't lose himself. He doesn't grow colder. He becomes more himself than ever before. A golden flame, fueled by courage, soaring through space and energy, with no limits. But even then, once the threat is gone, Sonic lets it go. The power fades, the rings fall. And Sonic smiles back in his own skin, running again into the sunset. Because to him, the power was never the point. Sonic doesn't run to escape. He runs because he knows that every second counts, every voice matters, and that standing still means letting someone else decide your future. In that way, Sonic isn't just a character. He's a philosophy, a reminder that no matter how slow the world may seem or how heavy the past might feel, you can move forward. You can run towards something better. You can change everything just by refusing to stop. And so he runs, across dimensions, through time, into dreams. Blue Blur, silent guardian, a being of destiny, born not to rule the world, but to remind it what freedom feels like. If Sonic is the wind, free, fast, untouchable, then Dr. Ivo Robotnik is the wall he crashes against. He's a man of invention, of logic, of control, and beneath his iron grin and armies of machines lies something even more powerful than hatred, obsession. To many, he's a cartoon villain. Big mustache, round glasses, a voice that echoes through metal speakers with laughter and threats. But tonight, let's slow down. Let's look at the man behind the machines. Because Dr. Eggman, as he calls himself now, is more than a punchline. He's one of the most brilliant minds the world has ever known, and one of the most dangerous. His real name is Dr. Ivo Robotnik, a genius in robotics, physics, energy systems, and artificial intelligence. In almost every version of the Sonic universe, his intellect is unmatched. He builds entire empires overnight. Space stations, time machines, biomechanical beasts, all from his own mind, all from scratch. And yet with all that power, he remains fixated on the single idea: sewer control. Where Sonic believes in movement, Eggman believes in order. Where Sonic protects the natural world, Eggman replaces it. Trees turn to wires, rivers to circuits, mountains flattened into factories. His dream is a world not just ruled by him, but shaped in his image. Clean, predictable, mechanical, and yet not entirely cruel. Strangely, Eggman isn't motivated by destruction. He doesn't want to burn the world. He wants to improve it, perfect it. He sees chaos as weakness, nature as flawed, freedom as dangerous. In his mind, if he can control everything, then no one ever has to suffer again. But he's wrong. Because control without compassion becomes tyranny. And over time, Eggman's dream of a perfect world becomes a nightmare of cages, oil, and cold silence. Still, he never stops building, never stops trying. Why? Maybe because deep down he's still chasing something he lost. There are stories, softly whispered in older continuities, of a different man, a man named Kintabor, a kind-hearted scientist interested in helping the world, not dominating it. A man who once worked with Sonic, who tried to purify the Chaos Emerald's negative energy. In this version of the tale, something went wrong. An experiment backfired. The Emerald's energy twisted space and soul. Kintabor's kind mind was flipped, inverted, and he became Robotnik, a name of cold metal, a man obsessed with order. Whether that version is canon or myth doesn't matter. What matters is the idea that perhaps inside Eggman there was once kindness, buried now beneath layers of armor and ego and ambition, but still there, flickering. You can see it in how he builds. His machines, while destructive, are also beautiful. Gears turning in sync, limbs that move like dancers, designs that blend function with form. He creates not just to conquer, but to prove something. That he is enough. That he is smarter, better. That the world needs him. But the world doesn't agree. Because every time Eggman builds a tower, Sonic knocks it down. Every time he creates a perfect prison, someone escapes. And so the cycle continues. Eggman builds, Sonic runs. Order meets chaos, machine meets wind. Again and again. But in this constant struggle, something curious happens. Eggman never gives up, even when his bases are reduced to rubble, even when his plans fall apart, even when Sonic defeats him for the 100th time. Eggman rebuilds, always, obsessively. There is something deeply human about that, something that in a quieter world might be seen as admirable. Not the evil, not the cruelty, but the persistence, the will to try again. Eggman surrounds himself with machines, creations that obey, never question, never challenge him. Orbot and Cubot, his robotic assistants, provide comic relief, but even they often express confusion at his persistence. They ask him, why not take a break? Why not move on? And Eggman never answers with honesty, because the truth is too vulnerable, too soft for someone who has spent his whole life trying to be seen as powerful. You see, Eggman is not just fighting Sonic. He's fighting the world that never listened to him, the world that chose nature over machines, laughter over logic, movement over structure. He believes he knows better, that his vision, his blueprint, is the only way forward. And if the world won't accept it willingly, then he will take it by force. It's not just villainy, it's loneliness. Think of how many times Eggman has created a version of life in his own image. Metal Sonic, for example. A perfect mechanical replica of Sonic, fast, fierce, emotionless. A being designed to finally outmatch his organic counterpart. But metal, Sonic fails every time. Because no matter how precise the imitation, he lacks the soul. Eggman doesn't understand that, or maybe he refuses to. He keeps trying to remove the messiness from life, emotion, friendship, unpredictability, and keeps losing to it. It's almost poetic. And yet Sonic never truly hates him. They clash. They battle. But Sonic doesn't seek revenge. He doesn't wish for Eggman's destruction. In fact, on more than one occasion, Sonic has saved him. During the collapse of the Ark, in the ruins of Final Fortress, even after the Phantom Ruby saga, Sonic reaches out. Not as a victor, but as the rival, a reflection. As if to say, you don't have to do this, you don't have to be this. But Eggman always turns away. Because without the fight, who is he? Without Sonic, without his grand battles and crumbling empires, what remains? A man, alone, in a world that doesn't want what he offers. And that's the tragedy on it. Eggman could have been a hero. He could have cured disease, powered cities, explored the stars. He does create miracles. He just aims them in the wrong direction. He doesn't know how to let go, how to stop chasing perfection, how to exist in a world that doesn't follow his rules. And so he builds new robots, new bases, new plans. Every time he is defeated, he returns, not smaller, but larger, as if trying to fill a hole inside himself that can never be filled. Sometimes his plans stretch beyond Earth, into space, into time, into other dimensions. He commands starships, dabbles in time travel, hijacks the energy of gods. Always reaching further, always grasping higher. And the higher he climbs, the further he falls. But still he smiles. Still he laughs. Still he dreams of victory. Not because he believes it's right, but because he doesn't know how to stop. Because if he stops, he might have to face the truth that all this brilliance, all this ambition, never gave him the peace he was looking for. He is the smartest man in the world, and the loneliest. But there's something strangely comforting in knowing he'll always be there. In every story, Sonic runs, and Eggman chases, one representing chaos, the other, control. And though the world may never be ruled by Eggman's hand, his story will never disappear. He is the shadow, cast by Sonic's light, the structure beneath the speed, the mind that never rests. And maybe, just maybe, that's why he matters. Not as a villain to be hated, but as a reminder that brilliance without empathy becomes isolation, that order without freedom becomes a cage, and that even the most flawed figures can still teach us something important. So sleep now. Let the sound of gears slow. Let the hum of machines fade into the night. And imagine a distant workshop, where Eggman, still awake, is building again, before the world split, before the emeralds shattered and reformed, and before space and time bent under the weight of gods and machines. There was simplicity. There was Green Hill Zone, a place of checkered soil, swaying palm trees, golden rings suspended in the air, and waterfalls that glistened under pixelated sunlight. This is where it all began. Let's go back, not just in story, but in time, to the classic era, the early days of Sonic. When his adventures were two-dimensional, but his impact stretched far beyond the screen. Here, in this part of the story, we're not tangled in timelines or cosmic disasters. We're chasing butterflies, jumping on springs, rolling into loops. We're watching a small blue hedgehog race through beautiful handcrafted worlds, each one filled with charm, rhythm, and a dash of danger. But don't be fooled by the cheerful music or the bright colors. Even the classic era had its lore. And if you listen closely between the chimes of rings and the bowing of bumpers, you can still hear the quiet heartbeat of something ancient. It begins with Sonic the Hedgehog, 1991. No voice acting, no cutscenes, just movement, level design, and a story told through gameplay. Sonic races to stop the evil Dr. Robotnik from turning animals into machines. That was the core of it. Nature versus industry. Every time you freed a trapped creature from a robotic shell, you were restoring balance, returning the world to how it was meant to be. But even then, something more was brewing. The shimmering Chaos Emeralds were already hidden within special stages. No explanation. No dialogue, just a challenge. Collect them all and something good might happen. What exactly? That remained mysterious. As the series moved forward, the world expanded. In Sonic the Hedgehog 2, 1992, we meet Tails, Sonic's young fox companion. He doesn't say much, he just follows, flies, watches. But lore lives in silence too. Tails isn't just a sidekick, he's a symbol of admiration, of support, of how Sonic's fight against evil has begun to inspire others. Together, they travel through zones that stretch from oil oceans to chemical plants, hinting that Robotnik's reach is growing, that the pollution isn't just local anymore. It's global. And then there's Sonic CD, 1993. A quieter, stranger tale. Here, we meet Amy Rose, Sonic's pink admirer, and Metal Sonic, his cold reflection. The setting is Little Planet, a world that appears only once a year, floating over Never Lake. But when Robotnik chains it to the Earth, corrupting it with machines, Sonic must restore its flow of time. This is where we first encounter the Time Stones, magical relics that allow time travel. Every level has a past, a present, and a possible good future. Your actions decide which one you'll see. So, even in these early days, the message is clear. Sonic is not just reacting to evil, he's rewriting it, undoing the damage, fixing broken timelines, so making things better, not just faster. Then came Sonic 3 Knuckles, 1994. Arguably the most ambitious of the classic titles, and the one where Sonic lore begins to crystallize. We meet Knuckles, the Echidna, guardian of the Master Emerald, living alone on Angel Island, a floating continent suspended in the sky. At first, Knuckles is an enemy, tricked by Robotnik into believing Sonic is the threat. But soon, the truth emerges. Robotnik wants the Master Emerald to power his massive space fortress, the Death Egg. It's here. We get our first real taste of ancient civilization lore. Hidden temples, sunken ruins, carvings that tell the story of a once great Echidna tribe, guardians who lived in harmony with the emeralds, until something went wrong. Sonic doesn't just defeat Robotnik in this game. He climbs deeper into the world's past. And when you collect all the Chaos Emeralds and then the Super Emeralds, Sonic doesn't just become supersonic. He becomes hypersonic, shimmering, unstoppable, glowing with the full power of the ancient world. But even in this triumph, there is loss. The island falls. The Death Egg crashes. And Knuckles, betrayed and bruised, returns to his lonely duty, guarding the emerald that no one else understands. The classic era ends not with a bang, but with reflection. A sense that this world, though bright and pixelated, has depth. That its characters are more than just sprites. They have purpose, regret, legacy. Even the zones themselves tell stories. Take Hydrocity Zone, an underwater city now abandoned. Why is it submerged? Who built it? We're never told. But the level design whispers. Statues half buried in water, mosaics cracked. A once thriving world, now forgotten. Or Lava Reef Zone, where glowing magma pulses below the surface of Angel Island. Could this be the remnants of an ancient forge? Or is it the scars left behind by conflict? Every zone is a piece of the world. Not just a challenge, but a chapter. Even Eggman's bases tell you something. In Launch, Base Zone, you see construction. In Death, Egg Zone, completion. In Sky Sanctuary, you see the transition. Old meets new. Floating ruins, overrun by machinery. The battle between nature and industry isn't just metaphor. It's literal, visible. And then there's the music. Composers like Masato Nakamura and Jun Senue didn't just create background tunes. They wrote atmospheres. Green Hill's theme, breezy and bright. Chemical Plant, urgent, almost panicked. Stardust. Speedway, timeless, like a race through memory. Even in 16-bit audio, emotion bleeds through. The classic era was a dream. A simpler time. But not a shallow one. Its story wasn't shouted, it was whispered. Through level names, through visuals, through the silence between boss battles. And that's what makes it so special. You weren't just playing a game. You were exploring a world, uncovering a mythology, one jump at a time. And though the series would evolve into 3D spaces, sprawling narratives, and new dimensions, this era remained the foundation, the quiet origin of something vast. The bedtime story of a blue hedgehog who refused to slow down, even when the world around him did. So rest now. Let the chimes of rings echo softly in your ears. Picture Green Hill swaying in the breeze, tails flying just behind. Knuckles watching from the shadows. And Eggman, far off, planning again. The classic era is not gone. It lives in memory, in the shape of a loop, the bounce of a spring, the sparkle of an emerald just out of reach. And every time you close your eyes, it's still running. Right where you left it, the world had changed. Pixels gave way to polygons. Voices filled the silence. And Sonic the Hedgehog took his first steps into the third dimension. It was 1998, and with Sonic Adventure, the blue blur began a new journey, not just across wider landscapes, but deeper into the heart of his world's ancient past. This was more than just a new game. It was a revelation. A story that pulled back the curtain on the civilizations lost, gods reborn, and the consequences of power misused. It began not with Sonic, but with chaos. A liquid creature, towering and translucent, formed entirely of water and rage. He was unlike anything players had seen. No longer a robot or a twisted machine. This was something older. It's elemental, emotional. A being tied directly to the Chaos Emeralds, and beyond them, to the Master Emerald. But to understand chaos, we must step back before cities, before machines, back to a time when Angel Island was still part of the earth below. There, in the heart of nature, lived the Echidna tribe. Led by a power-hungry chieftain named Pachacamac, they sought to conquer and expand, and they believed that the Chaos Emeralds would give them the strength to do so. But the emeralds were not unguarded. They rested within a sacred shrine protected not just by stone and ceremony, but by Chaos himself. He was not a monster then. He was a guardian, a protector of peace. He lived in harmony with the Chow, small, innocent creatures who flourished in the shrine's serenity. And among the Echidna was one who understood this balance, Tikal, daughter of Pachacamac. She saw the danger in disturbing the emeralds. She pleaded for peace. But her father would not listen. In their lust for power, the Echidna raided the shrine, and Chaos changed. His tranquil form twisted with grief and fury. He absorbed the power of the emeralds, transformed into perfect chaos, and unleashed destruction. The city fell. The tribe disappeared. And Tikal, in a final act of sacrifice, sealed herself and Chaos within the Master Emerald. A slumber that would last for thousands of years. Until Dr. Eggman, ever hunting for ultimate power, shattered the emerald and released the ancient beast. Now Chaos was awake. And he remembered. The pain. The betrayal. The echo of a promise broken. As the story unfolds in Sonic Adventure, we see Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Big the Cat, and even the robotic E100 to 2 Gamma take part in the struggle. Each character follows their own path. Each sees a different side of Chaos. But at the heart of it all is a story about what happens when power is misused and when history is forgotten. Sonic, ever the optimist, sees Chaos as an obstacle. Something to defeat. But Tikal, whose voice whispers through glowing visions, urges a different path. She remembers that Chaos was once good, that rage does not last forever, that even gods can heal. As Chaos grows stronger, consuming emerald after emerald, his form evolves. From a puddle to a towering serpent to a monstrous titan of storms and waves. And finally, perfect Chaos awakens once more. The city of Station Square is flooded. Skyscrapers crumble. Rain falls like tears from the heavens. And Sonic, broken by the destruction, listens. Tikal's spirit reaches out. The people cry for help. The Chaos Emeralds, scattered by flood, respond to hope, not hatred. And Sonic rises, not just as Supersonic, but as a symbol of balance. He doesn't destroy Chaos. He calms him. Their final confrontation is not one of death, but of understanding. Sonic channels the energy of the emeralds to purify, not to punish. And when the battle ends, Chaos, now calm, sees the Chow again. Still alive, still kind. The world, though scarred, begins to heal. Chaos returns to the Master Emerald with Tikal. Not as a prisoner, but as a guardian once more. And the Master Emerald glows brighter. This is the heart of Sonic Adventure. Not speed, not spectacle, but redemption. It showed us that not every enemy needs to be destroyed, that history must be remembered, that the past, though painful, can guide us toward a gentler future. And in this game, each character learns something. Tails, often in Sonic's shadow, finds his own strength. Amy, always chasing love, finds purpose in protecting others. Knuckles reconnects with his heritage, learning more about the emerald he guards. E-102 Gemma, a robot built to serve Eggman, breaks free of control and seeks freedom, not for himself, but for his robotic siblings. His story ends in silence, sacrifice, and surprising emotion. Even Big the Cat, often overlooked, reminds us of something pure. He simply wants to find his friend, Froggy. And in a world of chaos, simple loyalty is a kind of peace. This era, the adventure era, was a turning point. It gave voice to characters, depth to lore, emotion to action. And though it stumbled at times, confused by complexity or technology, it also dreamed. It dreamed of a world where ancient gods slumber beneath city streets, where emeralds hold not just power, but consequences, where enemies are not evil, but misunderstood. And perhaps that's what Sonic himself came to represent. Not just resistance to evil, but a belief that people, and even monsters, can change. In the wake of Chaos's defeat, life goes on. The city rebuilds. The sky's clear. And Sonic, as always, runs forward, not to escape the past, but to carry its lessons into tomorrow. So close your eyes now. Imagine Station Square at night, quiet after the storm. The streetlights reflecting off puddles left behind. The faint hum of the emeralds, now whole again, and somewhere high above. Angel Island floats silently in the clouds, guarded by Knuckles, watched over by Chaos. And the Chow once again dance in the shrine, peace restored, not by power, but by understanding. Long before Sonic ever dashed across Green Hill Zone, before Chaos raged in Station Square, before even Eggman hatched his first plan, there was a lab. Silent, hidden, orbiting above the Earth, the Space Colony Ark. A place of science and wonder. A place untouched by war or politics, where some of the greatest minds of the Sonic world gathered to dream of a brighter future. And among those minds was a man named Professor Gerald Robotnik. Yes, the same last name as Eggman, but Gerald was different. He wasn't interested in world domination. He wasn't building armies. He was chasing something else entirely. Immortality, not for power, not for glory, but for love. His beloved granddaughter Maria was gravely ill, afflicted with a rare, incurable disease. And Gerald, in his desperation to save her, began his most ambitious and dangerous experiment. He sought to create the perfect being, a creature immune to disease, ageless, eternal, and thus in the hidden chambers of the Ark, Shadow the Hedgehog was born. He wasn't grown from flesh alone. Shadow was fused with the mysterious DNA of Black Doom, an alien entity linked to the Chaos Force itself. He was given control over chaos energy, able to manipulate time and space just like the emeralds. And he was given a purpose, to be hope incarnate. But in trying to create perfection, Gerald unknowingly invited tragedy. As Shadow grew, so did his bond with Maria. The two were inseparable. Maria saw Shadow, not as a weapon, but as a friend. She believed in his heart, and he, in return, cared for her more deeply than anyone. For a time there was peace, laughter in the sterile halls of the colony, hope flickering in the stars. But the world below Yem grew afraid. Government forces learned of Gerald's research. They feared what Shadow might become, a being too powerful, too unpredictable. And so, they ordered the Ark to be shut down. Soldiers stormed the station. Screams echoed through metal corridors. Maria knew what was coming. In her final moments, she released Shadow from his containment. She sent him to Earth, praying he would live, be free, protect others. As the door sealed behind him, her last words rang out, "Give them a chance to be happy." And then she was gone. Shadow arrived on Earth, broken, confused, and alone. Her voice echoed in his dreams, but the memory was fractured. Was she asking him to protect humanity or destroy it? That confusion was the seed of Shadow's inner war. Decades passed. Shadow slept in stasis, sealed away by the military under a Black Ops project known as Gun, until one day Dr. Eggman, in search of power, discovered the facility and released him. Shadow awoke not to peace, but to vengeance. He remembered pain, gunfire, Maria's face, tears in her eyes, and he believed he had a mission: to make humanity pay. Eggman promised to help him. Together, they planned to use the Ark's hidden weapon, the Eclipse Cannon, to destroy the planet. And so began the events of Sonic Adventure 2. But as the story unfolds, we see something deeper. Shadow isn't evil. He isn't cruel. He's lost. A ghost clinging to the past. A memory out of place in a world that moved on. And standing in his way is Sonic. Two hedgehogs. Two forces of nature. Speed and power. Freedom and control. They clash over and over, each encounter filled with tension and contrast. Where Sonic is lighthearted and carefree, Shadow is brooding and focused. Where Sonic believes in action, Shadow is driven by memory. But something changes. When Shadow meets Amy Rose, she speaks to him not with fear, but with hope. She tells him Maria wanted him to protect people, not destroy them. And slowly the pieces fall into place. The truth is revealed. Maria's final wish wasn't vengeance. It was peace. To give humanity a future free from sorrow. And in that moment, Shadow makes his choice. He turns against Eggman, joins Sonic, and races to stop the Ark from crashing into the Earth. Long before Sonic ever dashed across Green Hill Zone, before chaos raged in Station Square, before even Eggman hatched his first plan, there was a lab, silent, hidden, orbiting above the Earth, the Space Colony Ark, a place of science and wonder, a place untouched by war or politics, where some of the greatest minds of the Sonic world gathered to dream of a brighter future. And among those minds was a man named Professor Gerald Robotnik. Yes, the same last name as Eggman. But Gerald was different. He wasn't interested in world domination. He wasn't building armies. He was chasing something else entirely. Immortality. And not for power, not for glory, but for love. His beloved granddaughter Maria was gravely ill, afflicted with a rare, incurable disease. And Gerald, in his desperation to save her, began his most ambitious and dangerous experiment. He sought to create the perfect being, a creature immune to disease, ageless, eternal, and thus in the hidden chambers of the Ark, Shadow the Hedgehog was born. He wasn't grown from flesh alone. Shadow was fused with the mysterious DNA of Black Doom, an alien entity linked to the Chaos Force itself. He was given control over chaos energy, able to manipulate time and space just like the Emeralds. And he was given a purpose, to be hope incarnate. But in trying to create perfection, Gerald unknowingly invited tragedy. As Shadow grew, so did his bond with Maria. The two were inseparable. Maria saw Shadow not as a weapon, but as a friend. She believed in his heart, and he in return cared for her more deeply than anyone. For a time there was peace. Laughter in the sterile halls of the colony. Hope flickering in the stars. But the world below grew afraid. Government forces learned of Gerald's research. They feared what Shadow might become. A being too powerful, too unpredictable. And so, they ordered the Ark to be shut down. Soldiers stormed the station. Screams echoed through metal corridors. Maria knew what was coming. In her final moments, she released Shadow from his containment. She sent him to Earth, praying he would live, be free, protect others. As the door sealed behind him, her last words rang out. Give them a chance to be happy. And then she was gone. Shadow arrived on Earth, broken, confused, and alone. Her voice echoed in his dreams, but the memory was fractured. Was she asking him to protect humanity or destroy it? That confusion was the seed of Shadow's inner war. Decades passed. Shadow slept in stasis, sealed away by the military under a black ops project known as Gun, until one day Dr. Eggman, in search of power, discovered the facility and released him. Shadow awoke not to peace, but to vengeance. He remembered pain, gunfire, Maria's face, tears in her eyes, and he believed he had a mission, to make humanity pay. Eggman promised to help him. Together they planned to use the Ark's hidden weapon, the Eclipse Cannon, to destroy the planet. And so began the events of Sonic Adventure 2. But as the story unfolds, we see something deeper. Shadow isn't evil. He isn't cruel. He's lost. A ghost clinging to the past. A memory out of place in a world that moved on. And standing in his way is Sonic. Two hedgehogs. Two forces of nature. Speed and power. Freedom and control. They clash over and over, each encounter filled with tension and contrast. Where Sonic is lighthearted and carefree, Shadow is brooding and focused. Where Sonic believes in action, Shadow is driven by memory. But something changes. When Shadow meets Amy Rose, she speaks to him, not with fear, but with hope. She tells him Maria wanted him to protect people, not destroy them. And slowly the pieces fall into place. The truth is revealed. Maria's final wish wasn't vengeance. It was peace. To give humanity a future free from sorrow. And in that moment, Shadow makes his choice. He turns against Eggman, joins Sonic, and races to stop the Ark from crashing into the Earth. In the world of Sonic the Hedgehog, time isn't always a straight line. Sometimes it loops, sometimes it fractures, and sometimes it collides with itself. As you begin to sink deeper into rest, let's take a peaceful detour through the mysteries of time and the many worlds Sonic has touched, because there isn't just one Sonic universe. There are many, each one different, each one echoing familiar shapes, a blue blur, golden rings, a mad genius with mechanical dreams. But the colors shift. The stories bend. And together they form something vast and strange, the Sonic multiverse. This idea of many timelines, realities, and parallel worlds first began to take shape in subtle ways. Some players noticed the differences. In one game, Sonic is carefree and silent. In another, he's sarcastic and confident. Sometimes he knows Tails already. Other times he's meeting him for the first time. How could it all be the same world? The answer? It wasn't. Over time, the Sonic franchise began to embrace this. The comics, games, shows, even the films, all represent different slices of the Sonic multiverse. And nowhere is this concept explored more directly than the game known as Sonic Generations. Released in 2011 to celebrate Sonic's 20th anniversary, Sonic Generations wasn't just a nostalgic throwback. It was a love letter to everything Sonic had become. And in its story, two worlds collided. It begins simply. Sonic is enjoying a birthday party with his friends. The skies are clear. Laughter fills the air. And then the world rips open. A massive, swirling void appears, something ancient and formless, known only as the Time Eater. It begins consuming time itself, twisting events, erasing history. Sonic is pulled into the vortex and wakes up in a place beyond space. A white void. Silent. Empty. Frozen. But he's not alone. Standing in front of him is a smaller, rounder version of himself, with black eyes, no voice, and an old-school attitude. Classic Sonic. This wasn't a dream. This was a reunion across time. Two Sonics. Two generations. And so begins their journey through broken moments in history, iconic levels from the past, each one twisted and frozen by the Time Eater. Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, City Escape. Each stage represents a fragment of Sonic's legacy, and as the two versions of Sonic run side by side, one in 2D, one in 3D, they begin to restore the timeline. Along the way, they encounter friends and foes, all displaced from their moments in history. Knuckles, Amy, Rouge, Shadow. Even villains like Metal Sonic and Perfect Chaos return. But none of them are quite themselves. They're echoes, stuck in loops, waiting to be remembered. What makes Sonic Generations so special isn't just the gameplay. It's what it says about Sonic as a character. Across all timelines, across all styles and tones, Sonic is still Sonic. Whether pixelated or rendered in HD, voiced or silent, 2D or 3D, his core never changes. He is speed. He is freedom. He is the thread that holds every version of his world together. And as the two Sonics confront the Time Eater in the game's final moments, they realize who's behind the chaos. Dr. Eggman. Not just one version, but two. Classic Eggman and modern Eggman working together after being flung into the time stream. It's their ultimate plan. To erase every defeat. To rewrite history where Sonic never wins. But once again, they underestimate him. Both Sonics, powered by the Chaos Emeralds, transform into Super Sonic, two streaks of gold burning through the void. They defeat the Time Eater. Time returns to normal. And the timelines part peacefully once more. Classic Sonic returns to his era. Modern Sonic stays in his own. But a bond remains. Two hedgehogs. One soul. Split by style, united by spirit. Outside of the games, the Sonic multiverse expands even further. In the Archie comics, we see alternate timelines, some where Sonic leads armies, others where he loses his powers. Some stories show post-apocalyptic futures. Others show universes where characters like Sally Acorn or Scourge the Hedgehog become central figures. And in Sonic Prime, the animated Netflix series, this multiverse theme is explored even more directly. A mysterious event causes reality to fracture. Sonic is pulled into multiple shatter spaces, alternate versions of Green Hill Zone, where his friends are transformed into radically different versions of themselves. In one world, Tails becomes a lone survivalist. In another, Knuckles leads a pirate crew. Even Eggman exists as a council of multiversal variants. Through it all, Sonic must piece the world back together, not just with speed, but with understanding. He learns to see his friends not just as allies, but as mirrors. Every version of them reveals something about who they are at their core. And slowly Sonic realizes the multiverse isn't about chaos. It's about possibility. Every version of a person, every echo of a world, is just a new way of seeing what already exists within. It's a comforting thought that no matter how fractured the world becomes, some things never change. Sonic will always run. Tails will always fly beside him. And Eggman will always chase one step behind. So as you begin to drift off, let this vision hold you. 1,000 green hill zones. 1,000 Eggmans building their dreams. 1,000 Sonics dashing through space and time. And through it all, the same heartbeat. The same wind in his quills. The same promise. To protect the future, no matter which one it is. As the stars swirl above Mobius and the soft winds blow through the familiar loops of Green Hill, there's something comforting in what's known. We know Sonic. We know Tails. We know Knuckles, Amy, and Shadow. But behind those iconic faces are dozens more. Some remembered, some quietly fading into the edges of memory. In this part of our story, let's step gently off the beaten path. Let's wander down quieter trails in Sonic's long journey, paths where legacy characters once ran beside him. Some bright, some brief, but all meaningful. Ray the flying squirrel, Mighty the armadillo. We begin in the arcades. Before Sonic's brand fully hit home consoles, there were experiments. In 1993, the game Sega Sonic the Hedgehog debuted in arcades, featuring not only Sonic, but 2 new characters. Ray the flying squirrel, a bright-eyed, yellow-furred flyer full of optimism, and Mighty the armadillo, a red-toned powerhouse with a calm, protective nature. They weren't around for long. The game itself was hard to find. Its unique control system, a trackball, meant few people ever played it. But in the years that followed, Ray and Mighty would become almost mythical. Talked about, remembered, but rarely seen. That changed with Sonic Mania Plus, where both characters were lovingly reintroduced. Ray's gliding mechanics and Mighty's ground-shaking slam gave them new life. And for fans, it was like rediscovering a lost photograph in an old drawer. They reminded us even those pushed to the margins can return stronger than ever. Cream the rabbit cheese. If there was ever a character made for quiet kindness, it was Cream. Cream the Rabbit debuted in Sonic Advance 2, quickly becoming a staple in the early 2000s. She was gentle, polite, and well-mannered, always accompanied by her loyal Chow companion, Cheese. Unlike the action-first heroes around her, Cream symbolized innocence. She didn't fight out of anger or rebellion. She helped others because it was the right thing to do. Yet over time, Cream faded from the main spotlight. She made cameos, appeared in side games, but was rarely central again. Still, for many fans, she left an impression. Not every hero needs to be fast. Some just need to be kind. Marine the Raccoon. Across the sea, a new character emerged in Sonic Rush Adventure, a game focused on ocean travel and exploration. Marine the Raccoon was energetic, adventurous, and wildly enthusiastic. She dreamed of being a captain, even if she wasn't quite ready. Often loud and stubborn, Marine wasn't universally loved, but she was real. She represented the clumsy excitement of growing up, the thrill of wanting to be brave before you truly are. And though she only appeared in one major title, her spirit remains in fan communities. Not every story needs to be perfect to be unforgettable. Charmy B, Vector, and Espio, the Chaotix. Some characters are defined not by their speed or strength, but by their style. Enter Team Chaotix. Originally introduced in Knuckles' Chaotix for the Sega 32X, a game that few owned but many remember, this quirky trio was reintroduced in Sonic Heroes and quickly won over new fans. Vector the Crocodile, the boisterous leader who loves music and money. Espio the Chameleon, calm and disciplined, a ninja in both stealth and tone. Charmy B, young, wild, and buzzing with energy. Together they formed a detective agency, more comedy than crime. They offered something different, a slice of life in the Sonic world. They weren't out to save the planet. They just wanted to get paid. And yet in doing so, they added depth. They showed that even in a world of gods and robots, there's room for small mysteries, silly clients, and charming personalities. Feng the Sniper, Knack the Weasel. Some characters vanish almost as soon as they arrive. Feng the Sniper, also known in the West as Knack the Weasel, was a treasure hunter introduced in Sonic Triple Trouble on the Game Gear. He rode a spring-loaded pogo gun, and it wasn't quite a villain, more of a wild card. He wasn't fast. He wasn't strong. But he was slippery. And while he hasn't had many main appearances since Sonic Superstars finally brought him back, giving him a more defined personality and new connections to the wider world, it was a reminder that Sonic's world isn't made of black and white heroes and villains. Sometimes it's built on opportunists, rivals, and unpredictable outlaws. Emerald and the Tragedy of AI. One of the most touching and often forgotten stories comes from Sonic Battle on the Game Boy Advance. There, we meet Emerald, a mysterious robotic life form with the ability to learn from others. At first, he's quiet, blank. But as Sonic, Tails, and others spend time with him, Emerald begins to grow. He mimics personalities, learns kindness, forms bonds, he becomes real. But Emerald wasn't just a machine. He was a weapon, programmed long ago to protect or destroy based on his surroundings. And when chaos energy overwhelms his system, he breaks. The moment Emerald malfunctions, forgetting everything, reverting to his core programming, is one of the most heartbreaking in Sonic lore. His final moments are chaotic, confused, and then silence. Emerald's story is rarely revisited, but those who experienced it remember. Not all heroes last, but that doesn't mean they didn't matter. Forgotten, but not gone. From Styx, the Jungle Badger in Sonic Boom, to Honey the Cat, a hidden character in Sonic the Fighters, Sonic's universe is filled with brief stars. Some were built to last. Others were experiments, cross-media additions, or one-time companions. But each helped shape the world around Sonic. They made it richer, more diverse, more alive. And for fans drifting off to sleep tonight, there's something beautiful in that. That even if a character only appears once, just one game, one comic, one moment, they can still matter. They can still live. In memories, in fan art, in the quiet corners of the Sonic fandom, where someone still remembers the way Cream said, "Mr. Sonic," or how Marine cheered, "Blimey," on her tiny ship. These forgotten faces are never truly forgotten. They wait. In the corners of old cartridges, in pixel dust and VHS static. And maybe, just maybe, they'll return again someday. Deep in the heart of Sonic's world lies something ancient, something beautiful, and something feared. 7 glowing stones, each a different color, each pulsing with an energy not of machines, but of something older, wilder, unseen. They are the Chaos Emeralds. And in the calm of night, as your thoughts slow and your breathing softens, let's float through the story of these gems, of what they are, where they come from, and what they mean. The 7 stones. From the earliest Sonic games, the Chaos Emeralds have been present. In the original Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega Genesis, collecting all 6, later 7 emeralds was an optional challenge. But those who succeeded discovered something mysterious. Sonic didn't just win. He transcended. In time, the emeralds became more than collectibles. They became symbols of balance, of creation and destruction, of change. Each emerald holds incredible energy, but it is when all 7 are gathered together that true power awakens. The transformation they allow is known as supersonic, a glowing golden version of our blue hero, surrounded by a radiant aura, immune to damage, and faster than ever before. But this form comes at a cost. It drains rings, the currency of life. The energy is fleeting, and if not controlled, it can spiral. In this way, the Chaos Emeralds mirror life itself, a source of strength, but only if handled wisely. Chaos, the entity and the energy. To understand the emeralds, we must go back to Sonic Adventure, where the myth became flesh. Here, we meet a new being, Chaos. Neither robot nor animal, Chaos is a liquid creature of unknown origin, a guardian of the Master Emerald and of the Chao creatures who live in peace. Long ago, in the ancient land of the Echidnas, Chaos lived in harmony. But power, as always, attracts envy. The Echidna leader, Pachacamac, wanted to use the emeralds' power for conquest. When he attacked the Chao to get it, Chaos transformed, driven by rage and grief. He became perfect chaos, a titanic, serpentine being formed of water and fury. It took centuries for him to sleep again, and when he awoke in the modern era, his rage returned. Only through Sonic, powered by the Chaos Emeralds but balanced by compassion, could Chaos be calmed. Not defeated. Calmed. This moment marked a turning point in Sonic lore. The emeralds were no longer just tools. They were emotional, responsive, linked to will, spirit, and intention. Positive and negative energy. The Chaos Emeralds don't judge, they amplify. In the hands of a hero, they shine with positive chaos energy, a force of light, speed, and transformation. But in the hands of evil, they twist. In Sonic Adventure 2, Dr. Eggman uses a different approach. With the help of his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik's research, and the ultimate life form Shadow, he unlocks the dark potential of the emeralds. Through the Ark, a space station once meant for good, Eggman fires the Eclipse cannon, powered by Chaos Emeralds, threatening all life below. And as Shadow is pulled into a conflict of identity and memory, he too channels the emeralds' energy. But when he fights for love, not vengeance, his form becomes Super Shadow. The emeralds respond to his shift in heart. This duality, light and dark, recurs again and again in Sonic's world. It's not about good or evil. It's about intention. The emeralds magnify what's inside, like a mirror for the soul. The Master Emerald. Above the floating continent known as Angel Island, there rests something even older. The Master Emerald. It is not one of the Chaos Emeralds. It is greater. A giant green gem glowing with immense stability, the Master Emerald controls and neutralizes the power of the others. If the Chaos Emeralds are the elements, the Master Emerald is the balance between them. Guarded for generations by the Knuckles clan and now by Knuckles the Echidna himself, the Master Emerald is both relic and responsibility. Knuckles doesn't seek power. He protects it, even when tempted, even when alone. His vigil over the Master Emerald is one of the most noble and quiet duties in Sonic's lore. It's not loud, not flashy, but it's vital. Like the silent beat of a heart, keeping the world in rhythm. The Sol Emeralds. In Sonic Rush, a new dimension is revealed, a parallel world where a different set of emeralds exist. The Sol Emeralds. Similar in appearance to the Chaos Emeralds, but tied to the power of fire and the sun. The Sol Emeralds are protected by Blaze, the cat, a noble and reserved guardian from another universe. While Sonic's power is raw and fast, Blaze's is steady and fierce. And when she gathers the Sol Emeralds, she becomes Burning Blaze, a fiery counterpart to Supersonic. Together, the two dimensions represent harmony across universes, two forces, two guardians, each protecting their world with flame and wind, heat and speed. The emeralds in culture. Across games, shows, and comics, the Chaos Emeralds have taken many forms. In the Archie comics, the emeralds are part of a wider, magical network, sometimes numbering more than 7, sometimes tied to cosmic beings. In Sonic X, they're hunted relentlessly, causing destruction as they scatter across Earth. In every case, the message is clear. The emeralds are not just power. They are responsibility, and only those with balance, of heart, of purpose, of spirit, can wield them without falling. Dreams, chaos, and you. As you begin to drift further into sleep, let the emeralds guide your thoughts. Imagine them floating in the void, spinning slowly, each glowing a different hue. Red, blue, green, yellow, white, cyan, purple. Each one waiting for the right hand. Each one echoing the soul of the one who finds them. In Sonic's hands, they become a tool of hope. In others, they're storms, but always they are energy. Neutral, ancient, and perhaps in dreams you'll find one yourself. See what it reflects. Because deep down, we all hold chaos. What matters is what we do with it. In the swirling timelines of Sonic's universe, few characters are as complex, as tragic, and as deeply misunderstood as Shadow the Hedgehog. Where Sonic runs with joy, Shadow moves with purpose. Where Sonic is bright, Shadow is shadowed. And yet, they are reflections. Two sides of the same coin. As your mind quiets and your breath slows, let's explore the story of a figure born not of nature, but of science. A hedgehog created for a reason, shaped by sorrow, and driven by something deeper than revenge. Shadow's story begins in the stars. The Space Colony Ark. 50 years before Sonic's time, orbiting the planet was a place known as the Space Colony Ark. It was not a prison or a battlefield, but a place of learning, a dream of the future. Scientists, led by the brilliant Professor Gerald Robotnik, grandfather of Dr. Eggman, pursued a vision of peace, healing, and limitless energy. And within this dream was Project Shadow. The goal? To create the ultimate life form, not a weapon, but a being that could cure illness, resist aging, and survive in any condition. And from this dream was born Shadow. Not a robot, not a clone, but something different. A hedgehog unlike any other. Maria and the bond of innocence. Among those living on the Ark was a girl named Maria Robotnik, Gerald's granddaughter. Sick with a rare illness, Maria was fragile, confined, but full of light. She and Shadow became close, more than friends. They were each other's world. Maria, the gentle heart. Shadow, the quiet protector. She showed him Earth through screen, taught him kindness, taught him what it meant to care. And for a while, they were happy. But peace cannot last forever. The government grew fearful of Gerald's research. They saw Shadow not as a miracle, but as a threat. And so, the Ark was raided. Troops stormed the halls. Scientists were silenced. And as Shadow and Maria tried to escape, a gunshot rang out. Maria was struck, dying. She placed Shadow in a capsule, sending him away to Earth. Her last words echoed in his mind like thunder in a dream. Give them a chance to be happy. Shadow's awakening. For decades, Shadow remained sealed, frozen, until one day Dr. Eggman, seeking a new tool in his battle against Sonic, discovered the Ark's secrets. He released Shadow from his sleep, believing he had gained a powerful ally. And at first, he had. Shadow, quiet and stoic, agreed to help Eggman conquer the world. But something lingered beneath his calm exterior. Memories. Fragments. A voice. Maria's voice. In Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow and Sonic face off again and again. But beneath their rivalry lies something deeper. Shadow is not evil. He is lost. And as the story unfolds, Shadow begins to remember more. Not just the pain, but the promise. Maria didn't want vengeance. She wanted peace. And when a catastrophic weapon known as the Arc Eclipse Cannon threatens to destroy Earth, Shadow makes his choice. He joins Sonic. Together they battle Final Hazard, a monstrous form of the Bio-Lizard, another failed prototype from the Ark. And in the final moments, Shadow uses the last of his strength to teleport the danger away. He falls, and as he fades, his thoughts are of Maria, a promise kept. Death, rebirth, and confusion. But Shadow's story doesn't end there. In Sonic Heroes, he returns, alive, but with no memory, a blank slate. Was he the original Shadow? A clone? A copy? Even he didn't know. And thus began his journey not of vengeance, but of identity. Who am I? Why was I created? What is my purpose? In Shadow the Hedgehog, his first solo game, he sets out to answer these questions. But the answers aren't simple. He is hunted by aliens, manipulated by the military, and tempted by darkness. Throughout the game, players choose Shadow's path. Will he embrace destruction or redemption? Each choice unlocks a different truth, a different version of who he might be. And at the end, Shadow learns the truth. He is the original. He was created to protect, to live, to choose. And in knowing that, he accepts himself. Not as a weapon, not as a project, but as Shadow the Hedgehog. Strength and solitude. After reclaiming his identity, Shadow doesn't return to heroism, nor does he seek revenge. He walks his own path. Sometimes he works with Sonic. Other times he works alone. In Sonic 06, he dons armor, taking on military missions and protecting the world from supernatural threats. In Sonic Forces, he battles rogue AI and lost experiments. His demeanor remains cold, but his actions speak louder than words. Shadow cares. He just doesn't show it. Where Sonic is expressive and open, Shadow is guarded. His strength lies not in speed alone, but in resilience. No matter the pain, the doubt, or the loss, Shadow moves forward, not for glory, not for thanks, but because it's right. Sonic and Shadow. Reflections. Sonic and Shadow are often compared. They look similar. They move at equal speeds. They both use Chaos Emeralds to transform, Sonic into Supersonic, Shadow into Super Shadow. But their differences are just as important. Sonic runs because he loves freedom. Shadow runs because he needs purpose. Sonic is open-hearted, optimistic, and impulsive. Shadow is calculating, serious, and loyal to a fault. Yet when they work together, something beautiful happens. Two forces, light and dark, not clashing but balancing. In many ways, they need each other. Sonic reminds Shadow to smile. Shadow reminds Sonic to think. And when they team up, nothing can stop them. A moment of peace. As you drift deeper into sleep, imagine Shadow standing quietly beneath a moonlit sky. He says little, but he watches, protects. The wind moves through the grass. The stars twinkle softly. Somewhere Maria's words echo again. Give them a chance to be happy. And Shadow, though he rarely smiles, knows in his heart he's keeping that promise. Every day in his way, because sometimes the strongest heroes are the quiet ones. The ones who carry their pain, who stand in the shadows, and still choose to protect the light before the movies, before the internet memes, before the fandoms stretched across the globe. Sonic was just a blue blur speeding across the screen. But it didn't take long for the world to want more. More than the games, more than the rings. They wanted to see him, talking, laughing, living outside the bounds of gameplay. And so began Sonic's journey from pixels to stories. From video games to TV shows, comics, and eventually the silver screen, Sonic the Hedgehog became more than a mascot. He became a character. So, now as your mind floats and your eyes grow heavier, let's drift into the many forms Sonic has taken outside the games. Let's start with where many kids met him first. Not with a controller, but with a Saturday morning cartoon. Sonic's Animated Adventures, the early 90s. In the early 1990s, Sonic made his first leap to television. The first show, simply titled Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. It aired in 1993. It was zany, fast-paced, filled with slapstick humor and surreal animation. In this version, Sonic was voiced by Jaleel White, famous for playing Steve Urkel in Family Matters. Sonic cracked jokes, wore disguises, and outsmarted a bumbling Dr. Robotnik in every episode. It was loud. It was silly. It was fun. But that same year, another show premiered, very different in tone. It was known simply as Sonic the Hedgehog, but fans today call it Say-Tay-Em Sonic. This version aired on Saturday mornings and told a darker, more emotional story. Sonic was part of a resistance group, the Freedom Fighters, fighting against a robotic empire ruled by the sinister Robotnik. Characters like Princess Sally Acorn, Rotor, Antoine, and Bunny Rabbit joined the fight. This Sonic still had attitude, but he also had depth. He cared. He felt loss. He fought for something bigger than himself. For many fans, Say-Tay-Em remains one of the richest interpretations of Sonic's world. Sadly, the series ended after just 2 seasons, leaving fans with cliffhangers that were never resolved, until another medium picked up the torch. the Archie comics era, 1993 to 2017. While the shows came and went, the Archie Sonic comics endured. Beginning in 1993, the comic series blended elements from both animated shows, the games, and its own original characters. It became a sprawling universe, far beyond anything the games had attempted at the time. There were new villains like Scourge the Hedgehog and Mammoth Mogul, timelines that split and shattered, robotic uprisings, and emotional arcs that spanned years. Sally Acorn and the Freedom Fighters took center stage again. The comic gave Sonic a large supporting cast, his own extended universe. It also didn't shy away from deeper topics: betrayal, war, grief, and legacy. Writers like Ken Penders, Carl Bollers, and later Ian Flynn shaped a world that was, at times, wildly inconsistent, but always ambitious. For over 20 years, the Archie series held the record as the longest-running comic series based on a video game, but in 2017, it ended. Due to licensing issues between Sega and Archie, the series was quietly canceled. But the story didn't end there. A fresh start, IDW Sonic Comics. Just a year later, in 2018, a new Sonic comic series launched, this time from IDW Publishing. Once again written by Ian Flynn, the new series offered a soft reboot. Should eat no more decades of convoluted lore. No more legal baggage. Just Sonic, his friends, and a fresh world to explore. These comics continued many fan-favorite elements. Character writing, long-form story arcs, new characters like Tangle the Lemur and Whisper the Wolf, familiar faces like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and even Shadow. The IDW series is still ongoing, beloved by old fans and newcomers alike. It strikes a balance, light enough for kids, layered enough for adults. And for those who missed the old Archie days, the IDW stories are a worthy spiritual successor. Global reach, Sonic around the world. Sonic's media reach didn't stop at the US. In Japan, there was the 1996 Sonic OVA, an anime-style movie featuring Sonic, Tails, Metal Sonic, and Knuckles. It had a very different tone. Slower, more dramatic, but still endearing. Then in 2003, we got Sonic X. This anime series brought Sonic and his friends to Earth, where they meet a human boy named Chris Thorndike. Though mixed in reception, Sonic X introduced characters like Cosmo and adapted many video game plots, including Sonic Adventure and Battle. It ran for 3 full seasons and remains our nostalgic gem for fans who grew up in the 2000s. In France, Sonic even had a short-lived live-action/CG show called Sonic Underground. In this alternate world, Sonic has siblings, Sonia and Manic, and together they form a band and fight Robotnik. Yes, it was weird. Yes, they played instruments. But even that show has its dedicated fans. Each series, in its own way, added a layer to Sonic's mythos. They were all pieces of the same colorful mosaic. The big screen, Sonic in film. Then came the movies. In 2020, Sonic made his live-action film debut in Sonic the Hedgehog, but now without a little chaos first. The original trailer revealed a Sonic design that fans hated. The backlash was immediate. The design was criticized for being too human-like, with tiny eyes and odd proportions. In a rare move, Paramount Pictures listened. The movie was delayed, the design reworked, and the final version, more faithful, game-inspired Sonic, was a hit. Voiced by Ben Schwartz, Sonic was playful, lonely, and full of energy. Jim Carrey played a wildly eccentric Dr. Robotnik, and the movie balanced humor, heart, and high-speed action. was a success. In 2022, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 expanded the universe. It introduced Tails and Knuckles diving deeper into Sonic's lore. We saw the Master Emerald. We got Chaos Powers. And fans of the games were thrilled. At the end, a new character was teased: Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, with Sonic the Hedgehog 3 on the way, the Blue Blur's movie universe is stronger than ever. What began as a simple video game adaptation has become one of the most successful video game franchises in cinema history. Sonic transcends media. From comics to cartoons to movies, Sonic has proved one thing again and again: he's more than a game character. He's a story, a symbol, a part of pop culture that refuses to slow down. He adapts, evolves, and always keeps running forward. Through animation cells, through comic panels, through live-action scenes and digital landscapes, and wherever Sonic goes, adventure follows one, a gentle reflection. So now, as your mind begins to float in the calmness of sleep, let these many versions of Sonic drift through your thoughts like pages in a dream. Imagine cartoon Sonic rushing through the jungle, comic Sonic standing tall with the freedom fighters, movie Sonic laughing as he speeds across rooftops. They are all him, all parts of the same blue blur who taught us to believe in freedom, friendship, and fun. No matter the medium, no matter the version, Sonic is Sonic. And he's always running forward. As you drift deeper into rest, let your thoughts become sound. Not static, but melodies, chimes, guitar riffs echoing through your memory. Because when we talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, we can't ignore the heartbeat beneath it all: the music. From the moment Sonic first stepped into Green Hill Zone in 1991, his world has been defined not only by speed, but by sound. Let's take a soft, winding journey through the sonic landscapes of Sonic, the rhythms, harmonies, and unforgettable tunes that have made his universe sing. The classic era, 16-bit brilliance. It began with the Sega Genesis. Limited hardware, few channels of sound, and yet something magical happened. Masato Nakamura, bassist for the Japanese pop band Dreams Come True, was chosen to compose the original Sonic the Hedgehog soundtrack. He was not a video game composer. He was a pop artist, and that made all the difference. Green Hill Zone, Marble Zone, Spring Yard Zone. Each track had structure, emotion. They didn't sound like loops, they sounded like songs. You could feel it. The bounce in Sonic's step. The mystery in the ruins. The pressure as lava chased you in Labyrinth Zone. It wasn't just background music. It was the world. When Sonic the Hedgehog 2 released, Nakamura returned, this time with a bigger vision. Chemical Plant Zone exploded with electric energy. Emerald Hill Zone sparkled with tropical flair. And Sky Chase Zone brought airy, almost romantic tones as Sonic soared through the skies. These were more than tracks. They were memories, burned into the minds of millions. Even today, fans hum them without thinking. The melodies are timeless. Sonic. CD time, travel, and dreams. Then came a game with 2 soundtracks, depending on your region. Sonic CD, 1993, had a Japanese-European soundtrack by Naofumi Hataya and Masafumi Ogata, and a separate U.S. soundtrack by Spencer Nilsson. Both were haunting. Both were beautiful. Both completely different. In Japan, tracks like Palm Tree Panic and Quartz Quadrant had jazzy, energetic tones. The past, present, and future versions of each zone shifted the music's mood dynamically. In the US, the tone was more ambient, more mysterious. It sounded almost like a forgotten dream. And then there was Sonic Boom, the theme song. Energetic, uplifting, powerful. It wasn't just catchy, it was iconic. The Dreamcast era rockin' edge. The late 90s brought a new console and a new sound. With Sonic Adventure on the Sega Dreamcast, Sonic's music entered a bold, emotional, and deeply expressive phase. Jun Seinue, a longtime composer and guitarist, took center stage. He formed the band Crush 40 with vocalist Johnny Gioeli, and together they gave Sonic his rock identity. Sonic Adventure introduced Open Your Heart, a heavy, guitar-driven theme that underscored the fight against chaos. Sonic's levels each had unique musical identities. Speed Highway had wild electric beats. Twinkle Park was upbeat and carnival-like. Red Mountain transitioned from volcano drums to calming acoustic guitars. In Sonic Adventure 2, the music told character stories. City Escape and Escape from the City gave us that unforgettable energy as Sonic snowboarded through the streets. Pumpkin Hill gave Knuckles a hip-hop vibe. Live and Learn, the game's theme, was pure adrenaline. These songs weren't just good, they became core memories for a generation. Sonic Heroes to shadow experimentation and mood. The 2000s brought variety. Sonic Heroes were rock, but layered in orchestral and pop influences. Each team had their own theme. Team Sonic, bright and heroic. Team Dark, edgy and mysterious. Team Chaotix, jazzy and silly. Then came Shadow the Hedgehog, and with it a darker sound. Gothic guitars, orchestral drama, even rap metal. It was divisive, but it showed the versatility of Sonic's music. No matter the tone, the sound adapted. Even if the games wavered, the music always impressed. Sonic 2006, beautiful imperfection. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 was a troubled game. Unfinished, buggy, rushed. But its soundtrack? Stunning. From Wave Ocean's bright horns to the somber piano of Crisis City, the music painted pictures even the gameplay couldn't match. And then there was his world, Sonic's main theme. 3 versions, all different. 1 rock, 1 orchestral, 1 techno. Together, they told the story of a hero in 3 dimensions. The game may be infamous, but its music is remembered with love. Sonic Unleashed, Colors, and Generation. The cinematic era. As Sonic entered the HD era, so too did his sound mature. Sonic Unleashed brought sweeping orchestras and world music. Each region, Apotos, Spagonia, Chunan, had unique cultural instruments. Rooftop Run especially became one of the most beloved tracks in all of Sonic history. Sonic Colors added electronic flair, keeping things light and spacey. Planet Wisp, Tropical Resort, and Aquarium Park all shimmered with personality. Then came Sonic Generations, a celebration of past and present. Classic tracks were remixed. Old songs were reborn. Green Hill Zone? Now with violins and electric guitars. Chemical Plant? Jazz, fusion, and funk. It wasn't just nostalgia. It was respect. Sonic Mania and retro meets emotion. In 2017, Sonic Mania brought classic 2D gameplay back, and with it, a stunning soundtrack by T. Lopes. It was retro-inspired but fresh. Zones like Studiopolis and Press Garden became instant hits. And then in 2022, Sonic Frontiers changed everything. With an open world came a new kind of music, ambient, lonely, and deeply emotional. Each island had themes that ebbed and flowed like wind over grass. But when boss fights began, the music exploded. Vocal metal tracks performed by artists like Kellen Quinn and Keo gave a modern Sonic an epic edge. Songs like Undefeatable and Break Through It All were chart toppers. And they proved Sonic's music wasn't just nostalgic. It was still evolving, still pushing boundaries. Music is memory. So now, as you lie there, eyes closed, mind quiet, maybe you can hear it. A few notes of Green Hill, a whisper of Cityscape, a single piano key from a forgotten zone. Sonic's music isn't just sound. It's memory. It's emotion. It's movement. Every game, every show, every era. They've all left behind melodies that live on in our hearts. So, whether it's a MIDI file from 1991 or a 100-piece orchestra in 2022, when the music plays, you know who's coming. The blue blur. And he's always in rhythm. The endless run. And now, as our story reaches its quiet end, the world of Sonic the Hedgehog slowly fades into gentle hush. From the golden rings of Green Hill Zone to the swirling chaos of space and time. From friendships forged in speed to battles waged across dimensions. We've run a long, long way together tonight. You've heard of heroes born from science, of villains turned allies, of emeralds glowing with unimaginable power, and of adventures that span not just the Earth, but the stars beyond it. Through decades of games, comics, shows, and dreams, Sonic's story continues to grow, faster than ever, yet never in a rush. It's a story told by fans, shaped by artists, and passed down like a melody stuck in your head since childhood. But now, we slow down. Let the rush of the wind fade. Let the colors of the loops and springs dim to starlight. Let the music drift into silence. Because Sonic's story never truly ends. It just waits for the next run. Maybe you'll play one of his games tomorrow. Maybe you'll draw a picture of him. Or remember the tune of a level you haven't visited in years. Or maybe you'll simply rest. Because that's okay too. Even Sonic needs to take a break. Even the fastest thing alive finds time to breathe, to gaze at the moon above the treetops of Green Hill, to feel the wind ripple through the grass beneath his shoes, and smile. So, wherever you are, curled in bed, eyes half closed, with your thoughts gliding like clouds, know this. You've journeyed through a world of imagination. You've listened to legends of chaos and courage, and now you've earned your rest. Let your dreams carry you across Mobius. Run beside Sonic. Fly with tails. Punch through the darkness with knuckles. Or simply lie in the soft fields of Windy Valley, watching the stars blink slowly in the sky. The adventure may be over for now, but it never truly ends. And when you open your eyes again, Sonic will still be running. Somewhere out there, waiting. Good night, traveler of time and zones. Sleep well and dream fast.